What's going on, guys? Hope you guys had a good Thanksgiving with the families and anyone else that you celebrated with, if you do celebrate that holiday. I, for myself, did. I ate quite a bit, and it was delicious. I figured I'd post the long-form content of my leg workout. People seem to have been enjoying these, so I'll go ahead and keep throwing them on as I'm able. If you're not subscribed to the channel, if you did that, that'd be really cool. We've been growing substantially lately, and that's awesome. It's fun to get out the positive message and kind of learn from others and share our own experiences and get better. Yeah, this leg workout the other day is kind of just like I've been talking about. It's kind of just going to lead back into a strength block. So just for the past few weeks or several weeks, I've been doing just kind of hypertrophy and training weaknesses, trying to correct imbalances and discrepancies in strength from like bilaterally. So I've been working on things like that, as well as just doing things a lot of core work, just things that are going to overall strengthen my deadlift and squat and incline bench in those directions. So that's kind of the direction my training's been headed, and it hasn't been exclusively directed towards maximizing strength, more complementary and accessory work. But here in the next couple of weeks, I'll go ahead and start back my strength blocks. So I've been trying to incorporate more of those big lifts, those kind of get my nervous system and just my mind in general wrapped around the bigger weights again, instead of the volume work. So I figured that would be as good of a segue into today's talk as anything else, and that is like preventing burnout, having goals, tracking progress so that you can get better through tracking and addressing any issues that arise. I guess the first part of that is the preventing burnout aspect, which is, obviously very important to continued progress is not getting burned out on a thing, and we've all experienced it. It doesn't matter how enjoyable a thing is. If you do it enough, especially if you feel compelled to do it, it will become tedious, and it's like why people that have great hobbies and things like this and then take them on as jobs end up disliking those things, is it's like once it feels like work, or when you have to do it enough times in times that you don't want to do it, sometimes that can get you burned out, and that can get you kind of jaded on the idea of going and doing the thing. And clearly with something like working out and lifting weights, when you're actually going in and being in pain, it's physically difficult to go do. It's not like playing video games on the couch, which even that you can get burned out on and just be like, I'm done. I'm good on this for a while. And, and that's basically no exertion, so, something like this that you actually have to kind of get fired up and get in the right mindset, and, you have the discipline to continue to go back, you can get burned out on, much more easily than, say a fishing trip or something like that, that's just generally enjoyable. But if you do it enough, it does become tedious. So it's clearly is going to be preventing burnout with working out, and how that happens. And I think with different people, it's clearly different reasons that might happen. It can be, maybe repeated injuries. It could be a plateau, that you're having trouble breaking through. You're just not seeing any progress. You could be pushing too hard, need to deload a bit. There's all kinds of different reasons. You could just be stagnating, where you feel like you're doing the same thing again and again, and that's kind of like where I feel like I'm at right now, or I will be at if I'm not careful. Is I feel like I want something, want to shake things up, want to keep it interesting, and that it kind of leads me to the next part of the conversation, that is tracking your progress. I feel like is key to long-term consistency as well as progression. There's a really cool app I use called Boost Camp. I don't know if any of the rest of you are familiar. I'll put it on the screen really quickly just so that anybody watching, if you're interested, you can track your progress that way. It basically lets you record all of your workouts and can show you historically where you've what numbers you've accomplished. It lets you know when you've PR'd at anything, so if it's an additional rep, if it's time, it also lets you create your own workout plans. There's a paid version and a free version. I've found the free version to be sufficient for now, and it's been a couple of years, and it's been just fine for me. I can see in the future that maybe I will want the paid version. I think it's like $30 a year, and it just gives you quite a bit more options as far as like saving your training plans, making your own training programs, things like that. So I may go down that road eventually. But yeah, Boost Camp, if you guys want a good way to easily track your workouts, you just afterward go in, search your exercise, put your exercise reps, weights, time, whatever the case may be, and it records all of that for you. And, it lets you know how frequently you've worked different body parts, things like that. Pretty cool app though. Glad that I found that one when I did. And in combination with that, I'd recommend getting, or I found success getting a 1 rep max calculator. If you just Google 1 rep max calculator, there's one called Strength Level that I found to be very interesting and very helpful. You can put in different exercises or weights and set the number of repetitions that say you've gotten or you would intend to get, and it will show you like what your like say I got squatted 315 for 3, it's going to show me what I should be able to do for 4, what I should be able to do for 5, what I should be able to do for 10, etc. Or it will show me also what I should be able to do 1 rep at. And that's very useful for chipping away at your numbers, because it's like, okay, well, I may have known I could do 315 for 3, but then where do I go from there? And this thing shows you, in a perfect scenario, what you statistically should be able to do lifting wise. And so it gives you something that's a bit more achievable, and you're not just kind of stabbing in the dark and hoping to hit on something that works. It's like, statistically with the sum of all the lifters that put their data in the site, they're kind of able to calculate where you should be with these different lifts, and it kind of gives you some a standard to go off of sometimes when you're in doubt. And again, that's just Google 1RM calculator. And the first one that generally will pop up is called Strength Level. And it's, like I said, it's just go around, play on it. It's totally free. Very helpful as well, just for kind of calculating where things need to go. So yeah, for me personally, those two have helped me substantially to keeping an eye on things are and finding a correct path of where I think they should go as in with regards to the weights that are being loaded on the bar and what is actually achievable. And so that is kind of where the goal setting comes in, is seeing what's achievable, and then you could kind of start pushing that envelope and hitting those next levels and hitting those next steps in your progression to keep things interesting, because obviously if you just flatline stagnate, that's it can get old really quickly, and possibly trying to push through that just on sheer willpower and just stubbornness is a way to get injured, or again, just not find success and kind of give up on it, and that's obviously going to be the worst thing, is just giving up. It's so much better just to take a shift in direction, take a little change in direction, and you can always, switch back over into that first lane later on, after you've maybe done something else that you find a bit more interesting for a while, and again, that's maybe where the direction I'm headed is. I'm not sure if I'm just going to continue on this direction. At the end of my next strength block, I'll decide kind of where I think things should go. Also based on how I'm feeling. Generally during the strength blocks, I'll put on a few pounds, and it's not always comfortable walking around, slightly overweight. It can get old just doing everyday tasks, but for myself, I have found that preventing burnout, which burnout has happened, and like I said, it could happen now if I'm not careful, and that's where it needs to be addressed, but it's kind of a multi-pronged approach where it's, number one, tracking that progress, so that I can see. It's motivating when you see, okay, I am objectively better than I was before. This is not an opinion. I can look back and see results, as opposed to, just kind of going in there and like maybe not knowing for sure what weight you hit, or knowing that you hit it for a few sets but didn't feel great that day. It's nice to be able to add notes and really just refer back to it when you need a little bit of motivation and go, what, this is working, so there's that aspect. There's trying to keep things interesting, switching it up, throwing in things from time to time that make you uncomfortable and or maybe are difficult, not in your wheelhouse. It's like for myself, I'm good at squatting. I enjoy squatting. It doesn't mean that I should go into the gym every time and squat, though. For myself, that wouldn't work. It's I don't only want to be good at that one thing. And for people that do, great. For people that are specialists and want to do that, that's wonderful. I'm glad you found your niche and you like doing it. But for myself, I like to do the things that I find difficult as well. And I feel like that generally will translate over into the thing that you're good at. Is working on your weaknesses will actually benefit your strengths as well. And that's just something that has worked for me, as well as not shying away from things that I'm not good at. Like for me, pressing is kind of the one that just doesn't come as naturally to me, and it's the one that does require a bit of extra attention to progress, and that's totally fine. That to me is motivating. Like that to me helps prevent the burnout, is seeing, okay, this is something that I'm not really good at, and it's going to take some time to get better at. It gives you a long-term goal, and that's kind of where I've found that a long-term goal is wonderful, and But as well as that, give yourself short-term goals if you can. That's what I like to do is have things that are achievable, at least at least month to month, if not week to week, to keep you progressing. It's really nice, and it gives you inspiration, and it's very heartening to see those things that are, like I said before, objectively benefiting and objectively getting better. And that's kind of the fun thing with those apps is, like, you can track your accessory work. I mean, there's no reason you can't PR on accessories. It doesn't only have to be your main goals and your big lifts and things like this. Like, you don't, like for myself, I don't have to just go in and like only be hunting for a squat PR. It's fun to hit a PR on anything, and know that, okay, that was more than I could do last time because I gave it everything last time, and I'm officially better than that now. It's just a really good feeling. It's a feeling of accomplishment. And I think if you get a lot of feelings of accomplishment, it's going to help to not be burned out. It's the burnout is just the grind, when it just becomes monotonous and it feels like, this isn't even going anywhere. I've gotten to where I can get, I can't get any better than this. Those are the moments when you have to go, well, let me take a step back and let me see if I take a different direction, if I can make some progress. It doesn't always have to be progress in the exact same forward direction. You can start moving forward at a diagonal angle and then shift back over and continue forward. There's many different paths kind of to victory, you could say. And, there's never a one size fits all. It's just kind of finding where for you it works and where you can stay consistent. Also, I do feel like it's really important to mention that, if you do have to take a step back for an extended period of time, maybe you are burned out. Maybe you've already gotten past that point, or maybe there was an injury that sidelines you for a while. It is sometimes can seem very insurmountable to just jump back in and try to get going again. Like, you feel like, oh, all that progress is lost. I'm never going to get back to where I was. That was just a waste of time. I could be doing so much other stuff. Now maybe you've gotten in a new routine that doesn't include working out, and being fitness oriented. And it's just having strength to know, or I guess the mental fortitude and discipline to know that it's okay to throw yourself back in. You will get right back up to where you were sooner than you think you would. It's not going to be the same trajectory that you had to take the first time through. You will regain a lot of that strength and work capacity more quickly than you originally did. It's kind of like I have to tell myself with eating healthy, it's weight is always, it's something I really struggle with. I can easily pack on weight, and it helps when I'm working out regularly to build muscle. I have no trouble getting in my protein. I will pack on weight quickly if I eat badly. So I really need to be careful about that. And it happens where it's like, I shouldn't have eaten all that, or I get in a bad slump where I'm eating kind of crappy for a little while and like that. And it's okay if that happens. It's just about getting back on the horse and continuing on. It's not getting disheartened and going, what, screw this. I just give up on my diet. I can't figure this out. I just don't have the self-control to do that, and it's the same thing with working out. If you have to take a step away from the gym for a little while, 3 months, 5 months, 7 months, whatever it is, a year, just when you're ready, when you can do it again, get yourself back in there and get started again. The love that you originally had for it will come back. It was interesting. I was listening to, if you guys are familiar with Brian Shaw, he has a podcast. He's like a world champion strongman. He had on a guy named Robert Oberst on there. It was like a buddy of his. They did a TV show together. These are just like some of the strongest, like, people on earth, really. I mean, and Robert said he didn't understand what motivation was, that he goes to the gym whether he's motivated or not, and I get what he's saying there. He was referring to discipline, and that you just do it regardless. It needs to get done, so you do it. But for myself, not all of us are on that world level. Not all of us are at that point, in life, and sometimes it does take motivation. And I don't do this as a career, so it isn't something I'm forced to do. It's something that I need to get, I need to be motivated to do. I need to enjoy doing and find those parts of it that I enjoy. I can't just get in there and have it be a grind every single time. So while I understood what he was saying there, for myself, I didn't necessarily take it to heart much. And I do think it's fair to say that different things keep different people engaged. And I guess that's what it really boils down to. It's looking in the mirror and deciding, all right, Will, what is keeping you engaged? What do you find interesting about this? What is the passion that originally brought you in here? And how can you keep going with that? It's easy to jump in with both feet when everything is new and you're hitting PRs every single week. It becomes much more difficult to continue that momentum when the progress slows down. Maybe you start getting little aches and pains, you're tired. It just becomes more of the day to day. So yeah, man, take a look inside, guys, and see what motivates you, and make sure you don't lose that motivation and passion. And that way we can continue to all get after it, and make sure that we stay consistent and keep making progress. Appreciate you guys stopping by. And until next time, go out and get strong, guys. Take care.